So I've been back from Tour de Bloom for a few days, and I've had a few days to kind of think about the whole experience. It was really fun to go do a 4-stage road race. Definitely out of my familiar comfort zone. So I've had a few people reach out and ask me, like, what's Tour de Bloom all about? So I thought I'd just kind of walk you through the 4 stages. So the first stage, day 1, is Waterville. So first off, Tour de Bloom, 4-stage road race based out of Wenatchee, Washington. This year was the first year for the pro women. It was a UCI race, which was super rad. Brought a ton of women. I think there was like 106 women in the pro field, so massive. But so the first stage, Waterville, it's like a 40-minute drive outside of town. It's a beautiful drive to get up to this little town of Waterville. Big agriculture area, pretty flat, rolly course. The course was like a single lap of it was kind of 2 loops, 1 big loop and then 1 small loop, where you came through town. You started, did the big loop, went through town, did the small loop, back through town, and repeated the loop. Mostly rollers. So the way this stage works out is you park at the fairgrounds, and I learned there is absolutely no reason to warm up for a road rage stage, except for maybe to manage your nerves. But you get to the start, you've got to sign yourself in and then take the start line. And then the start, for like the first 10 minutes, it's neutral, and then the front teams just control the pace, and it's so slow. Like, it's probably the most sketchy part of the whole race is riding with that many riders in the peloton, riding that slow. Like, the corners are a little bouncy, but whatever. Everyone's super chill. It lets you warm up. And then magically the pace just finally starts picking up. So don't warm up, note to self. Then it's just a great rolling course. The comedy is that obviously the teams are working together and they're really trying to thin the field and cause some breakups. So you definitely always have to be paying attention for attacks, watching team riders, especially if you see 2 moving up the side. You're just like, oh boy, here we go, game on. So be prepared to respond over and over and over and over again. And the funniest thing about the Waterville stage was that the only steep climb, and it wasn't that long, on the entire course was where the feed zone was. I don't know why they put the feed zone there. But that's where the feed zone was. And of course, all the hard-hitting attacks happened in the feed zone. I don't think that's supposed to happen, but they did. I put down my best ever in my entire career that I've had a power meter, 1 minute time covering an attack on that first lap through the feed zone. So comical. But anyways, it's kind of windy out there, so making sure that you're being smart, riding with other riders, super important. It's beautiful. I missed a key selection in the last lap. I just wasn't paying enough attention. Totally on me. Ended up isolated. Fortunately, some other riders popped off the lead pack not long after I did, and I thought they'd all look back behind them and see me and like slow down, and the 3 of us could work together. But no, they all just continued soldiering on in this brutal time trial in the wind, and they blew themselves up, and I eventually caught and passed both of them. And then the end of the race, I caught another woman who popped off the lead pack, and we had 5K to go to the finish. And so it was great. She and I worked together because we definitely wanted to stay moving forward fast, and then had a big sprint finish, and she totally crushed me in that sprint finish, but it made for a really fun end of the first stage. So that's day 1. Day 2 for Tour de Bloom. In the morning, you've got a hill climb, and then in the afternoon, you have a criterium. That hill climb, not my favorite, really not my favorite at all, but good, because really lets the climbers showcase what they can do. So that's rad, but I really would have preferred a time trial. But anyways, you park way up at the very top of the Mission Ridge ski hill, which is again about a 40-minute drive from town to get all the way up there. It was super chilly that morning, which was kind of a bummer. just because you then have to ride down from the ski hill to get to the start. Which is nice, so you get to see what the climb's going to look like. There's some good hairpin turns and some steep bank turns, and it's just kind of nice to know what you're getting into. But when you get down to where the start is, there's a little tiny short gravel road that you can try to warm up on, but it's not very realistic, so not ideal. And if you go much lower on that road, like that's when you kind of get into the agricultural area, and there were just a lot of cars. No real shoulder on the road. It just didn't really feel like a great place to warm up. So I don't know, got to come up with a good strategy to figure out how to warm up for that hill climb. There is a state park there. If you have a park pass, like maybe parking there and having rollers, that might work really well. But yeah, hill climb. With your group, you take off as a mass start. They don't give much time between the groups, so you will be catching the riders of the groups in front of you. Or if you're a little slower, you'll be caught by riders and waves behind you. But it's all right. They're managing traffic for the most part, so there's not much cars on the road. People are cheering you on. It's like a 25-minute, lung-burning, leg-searing hill climb. Hated it. Yeah. But whatever. Again, it was fun watching the super climby girls just take off and crush it. That was rad. The Criterium is a total blast. So I don't know if this happens every year, but Tour de Bloom is during the big Apple Blossom Festival, and the whole Wenatchee Valley, like it's like Apple World. Like I think it's where like most of the apples in the United States come from. So big festivals going on that morning. There was a parade, there was a marathon, there was an arts and crafts festival going on all day. There's like live music in the park. So basically all of the surrounding communities are in Wenatchee that Saturday. And the Criterium is like right in the heart of downtown, like a block from where like the big arts and crafts festival and everything is. And the streets just lined with beer vendors and spectators. It is so much fun. The Criterium course itself is just a big rectangle. On the short ends, it's a little bit up on one side, it's a little bit down on the other, but entirely non-technical Criterium. There were several women who had never done a Criterium before, and it was definitely a really friendly course for them. So that was great. But yeah, for that stage, for me, all the teams at that point were really busy establishing dominance and protecting their GC rider and setting up their sprinter for the win. And we're so busy thinking about all of that I'm not sure that they necessarily heard the announcer say when they were preem laps, because there wasn't much action when they called them out. So knowing that, the chances of me winning with a whole bunch of big teams at the front of a Criterium are basically non-existent. I just decided to go hunting for preems, and man, I made a lot of money. It was really fun. The last preem I took was on third to last lap, which of course that one was a highly non-contested. Like really nobody even bothered to go with me when I went to go take that one. And that's just because if you gash yourself on that lap, the pace is going to pick up for lap 2 and 1, so people can dogfight out that last lap. So yeah, I definitely floated through the pack on the last 2 laps, but didn't matter. I had made a whole bunch of cash, so super sweet. And again, just so much fun with, I mean, thousands of people out there lining that course. So cool. And then the last stage, stage 4, is in the town of Plain, which again is another 40-ish minutes drive. From Wenatchee, you actually drive through Leavenworth, which is a really cute, like Swiss town in Washington. This course, the roads are a lot more primitive. Most of the roads, like they're small and unused enough that obviously they're all paved, but there's no painted center line or painted shoulder lines, lots of potholes. Definitely made for a different day. For our race, we really stayed together for almost the whole race. backtrack, got distracted there. So we really stayed together. Again, big course, 2 laps. Really stayed together for the whole first lap. Hugely entertaining with the potholes. You know, the women who are up at the front of the peloton are definitely calling them out when they see them, but I'm not sure that message always got trickled back all the way to the back of the peloton. And definitely women further back. I think there were 3 women who flatted out on that stage, and I think they were all just big pothole moments. So yeah, heads up for that. But the more rugged road definitely was fun for me. I'm not afraid to jump potholes and get jiggy with that stuff. So I had a lot of fun with that. So many more attacks. It was a much more all on, all off day than the Waterville road race. And you just really, obviously you knew everyone was looking for an opportunity. So, there were just a lot of attacks rolling up the side and a lot of crazy things happening up at the front, and no one was content to stay at the back. So you were constantly shuffling through the peloton. And if you've never really worked in a peloton, the thing to know is that the sides generally are always moving forward and the middle of the peloton is always moving back. And no matter, even if you're trying to stay at the side, you're going to get pushed into the middle and pushed out the back. So everybody's just constantly swirling through the whole thing and trying to make sure that when you see the terrain that's going to cause some attacks, that you're in a good position, not dangling near the back of the field, because that's treacherous. That course really had nothing technical in it. It did have, again, probably the steepest part of the whole course was the feed zone. So of course we attacked in the feed zone every time. There was also one hairpin turn, and once you figured out that was coming, you knew that was going to be an attack, just because you really had to roll through that single file. And so the front of the pack would get around the hairpin and then just hammer, and the poor women at the back of the pack, man, they were just frantic trying to catch back up. But fortunately they were usually all motivated enough to work together to get back on. Not long after the hairpin, there is one steep, short, punchy climb. And my big mistake for the stage came there. So hairpin attack, great position for that. Because it was the last lap, the gas stayed on after that, totally predictable. And then finally the pace kind of started slowing, and I was like, sweet, now I can kind of and we had shelled most of the field at that point. And I was like, sweet, I'm kind of going to drop back off the front a little bit and get a sip of water. I forgot about that little puncher of a hill. So I'm hanging out in the back, drinking water, and I see the hill and I see the first girls hit it and just full on attack. And even if I had been right there with them, it would have been a big effort for me to stick with that attack. But being in the back with a water bottle in my hand, oh fuck, I just did everything I could to not lose too much time. But I hit the top of the hill and I was probably more than a bike length behind the second to last girl. And unfortunately, it then tipped downhill from there. And I'm on a gravel bike. I've got gravel gearing. And so in my biggest gear, head down in the drops, rocking 130 cadence, they just pulled away from me. It was crushing. I didn't pay attention. Totally on me. But fortunately, some women started to catch up to me. There was a lot of chaos. I ended up in a pack of 8 of us. It was like herding cats. There was one other girl and myself who were really motivated to try to organize the group, but a whole bunch of the women in the group were just completely blown, and 2 of them had zero interest in working with the group. So yeah, it didn't work out as smoothly as you would have liked, but it was still more efficient than having been on my own. The very end of the plane stage is a pretty brutal hill climb finish. It's pretty short. It was maybe 1.5 miles. But I think it was 800 feet of climbing in that 1.5 miles. It's just brutal. And so, yeah, I rolled to the bottom of that climb with my lovely little pack of 8, and one of the women in the pack, actually 2 of the women in the pack, were amazing climbers. One was actually a junior, and she was just on fire. And then the other one was the woman who actually won the hill climb. So those 2 predictably dropped the rest of us like nobody's business, but it was a really good way to finish the stage. So that's Tour de Bloom. Really fun event. They did an amazing job supporting all the women, promoting all the women's races. The men's races looked really cool. The women's fields were huge. They gave free entries to all the novice, so like the Cat 4-5 women. So I think the Cat 4-5 women's field was like just shy of 50 women. That was amazing. So yeah, if you're interested in trying a road stage race, highly, highly recommend it. The stages are great. They're not intimidating. Nothing's really technical. Nothing's sketchy. No sketchy descents. It's a really great experience. Just, yeah, I'm going to go do it again next year. It was great.